Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is a meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission. It is August 5th. It's 6:56 p.m. I believe it's August 5th, 2025, and I'm calling this meeting to order. And for proceeding with things, we'll just issue a little, actually, before I do that, I have to read our standard lingo, which I have to bring back up. Actually, we can proceed with our introductions first before we discuss anything while I dig back into my email to get. If people, I'm having issues here. Introductions, Mr. Felvey.
Hi, my name is Ryan Falvey. I'm a resident of Ward 2.
Thank you. And we have Ms. Price.
Hi, my name is Denise Price, and I live in a local historic district.
Thank you, Vice Chair Kelly.
Hey, I'm Robin Kelly. I am the Realtor member of the commission and a historic homeowner in Union Square.
Thank you, and I have Mr. Bauer for a little bit at least.
Hi, I'm Dick Bauer, and I'm an attorney, and I was trained as a city planner, and I live in Spring Hill. And as Madison may have indicated, I'm good until about 7:30, and then I need to run. So
Okay,
let's see if we can get everything done in that time.
Yay.
sure. And just to catch up with the formalities, I have to say that pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation. Recording of these proceedings can be accessed at any time using the registration link at the top of the agenda. And just to give people the breakdown, we only have one case tonight other than just regular minutes and CPC update. And one of our commissioners, Vice Chair Kelly, has to recuse herself because he's in a butter, or near, not an immediate butter, but within the, whatever it is, 300 feet distance. So we have, thankfully, Mr. Bauer is stepping in just for that case, and then I'll be checking out, and then Vice Chair Kelly will come back for the rest of the meeting. So as has been said, let's just launch right into it. HP 25-000057, address is 53 Columbus Avenue. The applicant is Kristen Driscoll. The owner is Mildred Gambale. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. The applicant seeks a certificate of appropriateness to alter an LHD property by replacing the front door. Is the applicant here tonight?
Chair Parks, this is Madison speaking. I promoted the applicant to the panel, but they appeared to decline. Okay, it looks like they're joining now. Should be there in a moment.
How you doing?
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's just, give us a little rundown. We have the staff report, but just give us for the record what you want to do, why, etc.
Sure. So we have a front door. We've tried repairing it. It's pretty old. It's wooden. And at this point, the repairs they're just not making it so we can lock the door. I feel like it's a safety issue, as well as there's like a lot of energy, like heat loss. It's very cold in there, which makes it difficult. So I was thinking a new door would help. And while I did initially look to replace this door with a wooden door, that was impossible due to price. The wooden door is 4 times as much as the fiberglass door, and they're incredibly similar. I tried to keep it, following the historic look of the home. I feel like we did a good job in picking out something that looks incredibly similar to what's currently there. What else? That's really it. It's just really not, the door that's there now just isn't really functional anymore, operational, and so I need to replace it.
Okay. Get the pictures. Thank you. Unless there's something else, if it's just you, then our next step is to move to the public comment for this.
Okay.
If there are any members of the public who'd like to speak about this case, please raise your hand and staff will unmute you.
Chair Parks, this is Madison speaking. I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay. So I'll close the public comment for this case and toss it out to the commission. Who has some initial thoughts on this? I'll let you all go first.
Well, I'll start. I appreciate that the homeowner did look into the cost difference for a wood door. However, it's my understanding that we're supposed to follow the design guidelines as closely as we can. And the design guidelines ask that any replacements be or match the materials replaced with respect to their physical properties. So I'm not sure if it would be possible or bring it up for discussion that the houses around there would have had a double door originally, and possibly instead of just putting a fiberglass door in that matches this current door that most probably wasn't original, that they could make the house look more in keeping with what it would have been with a double door. So just throwing that out for a discussion.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Is there any way to tell from that picture that was attached to the report showing the house? I'm not sure what year it is, but it's certainly an old picture, whether there was a double door on that or not. It's the Mass Cultural Resource Information System, that document that was kind of appended to the report we received.
I suspect that the door, if I agree that the precedent would likely have been a double door here, though anything's possible. But the door that's there now, it goes back quite a ways.
Okay.
But I imagine that door probably predates any of the survey work that was done, just looking at it in the picture. So if it was a retrofit, it might have been like a 1940 thing or something like that way back. But that's my hunch, Ryan. I don't really know.
Did anyone have an opportunity to visit this? I haven't done that, but I'm curious, because I see that there's a mansard to the left of this house. I'm curious if there's a double door on that one, whether or not we have, if there's context that way.
Take a little street view tour.
Oh, yeah.
The house next door has a single door that's been enclosed, so there are no side lights or anything.
Yeah.
So it could well be that I mean, who knows? Already house. But you, Mr. Bauer, do you have any thoughts on this?
So I'm, on the one hand, sort of reluctant to let it be replaced with a fiberglass door, which is somewhat similar in that it's paneled at the bottom and has a light, one large light at the top, but is not actually all that similar in detail. But if, as has been suggested, it originally had double doors and these were not original, I think I would be more open to a change that put back the double doors, even though they would obviously not be the original double doors. And in that case, I think I'd be more open to the fiberglass. That is, if we, I'd be reluctant to have this door replaced by another one, which is not that similar to it, but to get double doors, if we think it originally had double doors, I think I would be willing to take the fiberglass as a trade-off, since it would have to be a replacement anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, I happen to take a little of a dim view on synthetics. I get that it's a lot cheaper, but it's the front door of the house. It's not, if this were a side door or something a little bit more less prominent, it's harder to go that route when it's like the very front piece there. As for the double door, I think it probably more likely was a double door, but yeah, so I think what I'm hearing is a suggestion that people would prioritize incentivizing restoring it to an original door, and in so doing allow a synthetic door versus a wood door. Am I getting this right? A wood door that matches the original.
Yes, that was what I was saying, at least.
Well, let's bounce
I'm
this off
looking
the
down the
homeowner.
street, and the next few houses have single doors, but probably not original. If you get down to, looks like maybe, is it 61? If you get down to like 61 Columbus, and farther, you begin to see the double doors that were probably on this house. Since I think it's unlikely to have been a single door with side lights the way it is now.
Yeah, like 67 has a classic full, it's a little bit wider exposure, but yeah. Well, let's bounce this off if the applicant is still around, let's see if they've considered the double door option.
I would certainly, if you are wanting me to, I can get a quote, but I mean, I think like price is something that I'm thinking of, where I think of like, I have to be able to afford this and I should be able to provide safety. Right now, the door lock is, we've been waiting a couple months. We've fixed it twice already and it's just not working. I think, safety is number one. I'd like to do that quickly. And like I said, it really is energy inefficient. That hallway is freezing. But again, for me, it comes back to like, I couldn't afford a $12,000 door before installation costs. This single door that's wood is $11,515.
Have you gotten multiple quotes for that? I mean, as an architect, that's for just a door leaf, unheard of.
Actually, we just had a door. It's funny, my daughter's mother-in-law, she just replaced a door and hers isn't even wood and hers was $10,000.
Have you considered taking it to a woodworker to have, because they can work magic with those things. They can put Dutchmen in, they can, and I think it would be a lot cheaper. There are local people out there.
The door's like super thin. It's just old. It's really old. It doesn't really function like I would like a front door to function, or or people that are living there would like it to function truly. I've waited because I'm like, okay, let's, but I was like, okay, we're at the point now where, like I said, fixes aren't working, and it is like just a lot of money. The difference to me was I was shocked, but I'm
Was
not
that,
surprised.
was that a custom-made wood door? Is that like a shop that's constructing it to match?
Know if it's custom. I read through this a little bit ago and I had a little bit of a crazy day, so I'm sorry I can't answer that off the top of my head, but I mean, this is the guy, the person who gave me the quote. This is the guy that I work with all the time on like a bunch of our, bunch of properties. And so I feel like he probably did his due diligence in looking for me, knowing, what we could afford, what we could spend.
I'm just looking at the report. Did you attach any of that? Let's see.
I did not attach, did not ask for it, so I didn't do it. the quote for the wooden door.
I mean, the thing is that the door those fiberglass doors are like narrower profile. It doesn't have the Belection molding and all that kind of cool stuff. That's what you're losing. I mean, that is shocking. That's the price to me for a custom wood door out of mahogany with fancy hardware and hung by somebody who has nothing else to do that week. I don't know. It seems like that number, if that's what's driving this, it would be nice to see a little more diligence there from somebody, because I think you're kind of giving away, even if this isn't an original door, it goes back a ways and it matches kind of like the style of a lot of doors that would, if this were just by design a single door. So that's, set that aside. I think what also is being suggested by some of my fellow commissioners is the idea of allowing a fiberglass door if you restore it to a double, as we suspect it was originally a double door. They would be narrower leaves, and you'd have to have the hardware and the flush bolts and things like that. So that would be something to look at. And you can go down the street and get a sense of what that would be like, or maybe something comes to mind. Usually nice with etched glass and things and lace. It's kind of a dressy look.
But it could be with plain glass.
Plain, yeah, I just
As
tossed
well.
that out there as like you'll look, but yeah, we couldn't require etched glass. Do you want to? I get that you're kind of itching to do it, but would this be something that would be worth continuing and then come back to us with an update and whenever we can get you in another meeting, or do you want a decision now?
If I could have a decision, that'd be great. If not, how does this work if you guys decide to deny me?
If we say no to to your proposal, how does that work? I'm confusing us with the zoning, where there's a period where you can't bring the same. I think with a historic, you can bring it right back again. Dick, you did this for a number of
I
years.
think we could do that, or one of the commissioners could move to reconsider and reopen.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't think that would be a problem.
it's not like a zoning hearing where you can't come back for two years with a substantially same project.
Mhm. Okay.
So, I mean, it's kind of the same. I mean, I don't feel too. I'm not loving the look that you had there, and I feel like it would be worth looking at a few other options before you throw in that towel. And so I'd be leaning against saying no to it now before we've sort of seen some other research done or other options and things like that, or you explore the double option and see if that's one you like and could come back with that kind of thing.
Tim, I'm not like huge on, either way. I like I said, I'm not able to lock the door. We're not able to lock the door anymore. So that to me is a big deal. It's been, I think, like at least 8 weeks, maybe more. I've told my tenants, I'm like, guys, we're doing this, we're getting this, I don't live there. But we're coming up and hopefully we're gonna get this new door. I hear them talk about it a lot. We've talked about it, a few winters. But if you're not going to approve it and I have to go and, look at potentially a double door, I think no, I think it looks similar. I know from your perspective, it really doesn't, but to me it does, I think. So you tell me if you're gonna deny me and it, let me know and I can move forward to do whatever I can. I also think cost is huge to me. It just is. I don't. I mean, like I said, that was even before installation. This is all before installation. The door itself is 3,000 just before we do any work or anything, any hardware.
They're charging you $3,000 for a fiberglass door.
Yeah.
It would be, in a perfect world, we could I would like to see some of that.
You know why? I think the door is an odd size, maybe. The opening, I don't think it's a standard opening. So I think this is how we ended up running into even the fiberglass door being $3,000.
Well, also your door was not just a door, but two side lights with the mullions and things.
Yeah, so the fiberglass one has that as well.
So you could also get a price on just the door leaf itself, leaving the side lights. I mean, as another approach, just fix
Yeah,
it up.
like I said, you can really feel like air coming through. We've had it like sealed and we've done a bunch of things before I came to like, let's change the door. And then lock was sort of our last, so like, okay, like we've done insulation, we've done things to try to help this work. And now with the lock, you're like, well, I guess it's the door.
Yeah, but a new door, they could mortise it for a drop down weather strip, and it could be a lot tighter if you went with a new wood or new fiber. It's the same constraints either way. It's a door leaf, whether it's made out of. It's all about the gaps. What if the
I
sheet of
don't know
plywood?
if the door will fit in. I do not think it's like a traditional size. That is what I'm remembering from Jack, our contractor.
Okay. Commission, what do you think?
So I would be inclined to say no to this proposal, and invite some other proposals that might be more appropriate, either a wooden alternative on the one hand, or as I said, I would be open to double fiberglass.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's kind of the way I would lean in this case too. And just structurally, we could either do that or you could continue it. And if it's the same result either way, if you continue it and think about it more, then you don't have to refile and everything. I don't know, is that correct, Steph? I mean, Madison, it's a little bit, if it's gonna be a work in progress either way.
Yeah, so this is Madison speaking. I double checked on the rules and you can like reapply as many times as you want after denial with different proposals. So, yeah, this is something that could be worked on if she
Okay.
wants a decision and doesn't want to continue.
Sure. I think that's the thing. I'm not just like saying no, go away, but I'd like to see some other options on the table that aren't necessarily this one. And how you choose to go about it, I guess, is up to you. But how about you, Ryan and Denise? What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with the sentiments that have been shared. I think you should see what other options exist there, and I think definitely looking into the double door. I agree with Mr. Bauer's comments about allowing fiberglass if that was a double door option.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sorry to make you go back and take a look at some other more historically accurate doors, but I think at the end of the day, you have a really wonderful property, and it sounds like you have quite a few. Congratulations. But this one's kind of extra special. So it might need a little bit of due diligence and hunting down of possible ideal double door that, you know, could achieve your fiberglass request. So that was a long way around with, I agree.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, if that's the case, I think that the applicant would rather we just vote. So we could take a motion.
Before you take the motion, can I just like make sure the applicant is aware of
Yeah,
what
please.
a denial entails versus a continuance? So when you continue to a date certain, you just submit updated materials. You don't need to be re-advertised because the date is announced at this hearing. If the board were to issue a denial, you would have to go through the entire application process again, be re-advertised,
Thank you. Thank you for taking the
resubmit
time.
everything.
Then let's continue. Can I ask this? Like, are you looking for doors with side lights if it's a double door? Like I said,
Oh, a double door would just be too thinner. I'm looking at the picture of your house right now. Two doors that are the same size that fit within the opening that now contains the side lights and the door.
okay.
So you just take those out and they're skinnier. And usually you have one that's fixed in place with little flush bolts and the other one is active. But if you want to open them both up, you can do that. If you
Okay.
take a little going down the street, you'll see a few. It's kind of a common thing in these little mansard Second Empire things, especially little mansard cottages and things. And it's kind of it's a classy look, I think.
May I
Yeah.
also submit other single doors with side lights?
Sure. Yeah, come back to us. Yeah, I mean, personally, I think continuing is the way to go because it kind of keeps the ball rolling a little bit. And
That sounds good. Like I said, I appreciate your love for the historic, and beauty of the homes and whatnot. I am disappointed. I don't know when we'll do this now. I hope, hope we don't have to continue again. Like I said, again, my door does not lock. I have had it repaired multiple times now. So hopefully we can come to an agreement on our next time. Will you let me know? And the same thing, like we'll Zoom again and
Yeah, we'll do the same thing. Also, I would suggest that I can't name names, but there are local woodworkers who would take that door into their shop and do a really good job of completely making it structurally like a new door. They carefully take out the deteriorated parts, and so they can do wonders with this stuff. I've seen it, and it's not going to be $500, but it's going to be a heck of a lot less than $12,000.
can you believe
So
that?
there's something to consider.
My eyes, I was like, oh my word. So part of the problem is the frame of the door.
Okay.
It's not just the door itself, which is why the lock doesn't work. It's the frame of the door.
Oh, it's the frame.
Yes, this is the problem. It's not really, it's the entire unit that we can't just fix one portion of it. We're going to need to just.
Well, that might speak to this being a retrofit then, because they didn't put thicker mullions in and it's a little bit shaky. So that kind of helps with this double door option. So yeah, I would look at that too, I think.
Okay. I personally would like to probably keep it a single door. I just like the way it looks. Like that's how I know the house. So for me, but I will look at other options, and I will do my due diligence.
Okay. Let's do our vote before we lose Mr. Bauer here. 7:24. I want to keep him on his time frame. And if any questions, obviously can bounce it off staff or Madison can contact one of us if there's any input. So
Madison speaking real quick first. Do we know what date we're continuing this to? The next available hearing is August 19th, but I think that might be too soon for staff to review all the materials and for the applicant to get everything together.
Yeah.
So I would suggest September 2nd or September 16th, because that would give a little bit more time. And then for Kristen's sake, staff sends materials out the Friday before the hearing, and they need a week before that to review everything and write any memos. So you're going to want to get your materials in about 2 weeks before the hearing, if possible. Well, the meeting, if possible.
So I need to get them in by September 1st. Even that only gives me 3 weeks to get stuff out. I feel like, I don't know that 3 weeks even be enough time.
We could also, if we do September 16th, I could check in
Okay.
like 2 weeks before then, see how you're doing, and then if not, I can have you fill out a continuance form,
Okay.
and we would just continue to the next meeting, if that
I
works
would
for you.
appreciate that. I will work hard to get all the paperwork into you by September 1st. Madison, you're super helpful. I really appreciate you filling me in, telling me how all this works. I think that sounds great. If you could check in, hopefully I have paperwork and I can easily submit it through the portal for you guys to consider.
Cool.
All right, perfect.
you.
Just wanted to make sure that was taken care of.
Thank you so much.
So we just need a vote to continue then, right? Or, yeah, we do need a vote to continue, don't we?
I move that we continue this case till September 16th. Did I get the right date?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All
Is there a
right,
second?
I second that.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bauer, second by Ms. Price to continue this case till to September 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do a roll call. Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Bauer,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So we'll see you in September.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks for navigating our process here.
Have a good
Yeah.
night, guys.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And with that, we will bring back Vice Chair Kelly. And Mr. Bauer, you're excused.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Dick.
It was nice to see you all.
Yeah,
Welcome
like,
back, Robin.
Thanks, Dick.
Aye.
Appreciate you joining last minute.
yeah.
Happy to do it.
Very helpful.
And all we have left is basically just minutes and a CPC update. Minutes I've not actually read yet. I've gotten, let's see. The minutes are always so good now. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes?
They
No.
do always look really good.
Scanning through. Yeah, I don't see anything glaring here. In that case, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
A motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion to accept minutes by Brian, seconded by Denise, I think, or was that
It was Robin.
Robin? I'm just going in audio for the moment. There you are. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Falvey,
Yes.
Ms. Price,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Yes.
I'll vote yes. So, and the only other thing is the CPC update, and I think we have not had, I don't think we've had a meeting since our last, there's an official update, where the thing that involves us is that, I think I mentioned this last time, we're looking for a consultant to kind of help us navigate some of the nuances of historic preservation issues in the CPC. So it sort of does relate to our commission more. And things like what kind of hooks do we attach when someone accepts CPC money, or like it's one thing when we give out money for like the high school, for the library, things like that that are public projects or churches or things, but when it's somebody's house, private party, we sort of have we go through knots a little bit to decide we can't just give money away for not. Are there conditions like they have to pay us back if they sell it within a certain period of time? Do they get preservation easements installed and stuff like that? So we're interviewing consultants next week for someone to help us with all that. And then we're looking for new members. If you know anybody out there who wants to join the CPC, let them know. And that's the gist of it. There's other little nuances, but that's what's going on.
So, if no one has questions on that CPC stuff, I do have a couple questions, I guess, to pose to commissioners, and then it will end up being a request to staff to help figure out. But this most recent case that was just heard, and then there was a matter recently that that we also listened to, in which the cost of doing historically appropriate repairs has been raised by the essentially applicants as a consideration. And I'm wondering whether in the materials that people receive from historic, when they are making applications, whether it can be made clear what the guidelines are that commissioners and this body have to work with, and that cost is not, it's not a consideration, and in the sense of, we understand that historic repairs and things like that are more costly than doing things that you could just run to Home Depot and buy something. But the concept of hardship, so it's sort of two things. One is, can we make clear to applicants that we're not making a calculation of like, well, that's going to save you a couple $1,000s, and so therefore we'll ease up on the recommendation because that's a savings. That we're not able to do that unless there is a proven hardship. And it's hard for an investment property owner to make a case for hardship when they don't reside in the property, particularly when they bought the property knowing that it was in a historic district. So it just rings pretty hollow. But it's something that we, in following our guidelines, can't take into consideration. So I'm wondering whether things can be made clear to people when they're applying, but that we also wondering, can we get a definition? And I know there are nuances and whatnot, but can we get a definition on what hardship means in the context of Somerville historic preservation, and what materials we would need from people, because a lot of folks throw around the term of that's a hardship. And we've heard it most often from developers and investors. And that's just not, that's the way that they have used it is not an actual definition. It's not, but I'm wondering whether that is something that we can get better clarity on, in great part so it can be communicated to people accurately, so that we're not spending time helping people scale back from what their expectations are. Because if anyone's coming here expecting that they're going to be able to make a case based on this is too expensive for me, they need to understand that they're going to have to go through a lot to demonstrate an actual hardship. And that hardship is not going to be, it's not going to fly with investment property because you can sell the property. So I'm just wondering about those things, if other commissioners have thoughts on that, if staff has thoughts on that.
Well, we have a technical definition of hardship, which almost nobody's ever applied, which I think requires all sorts of income verification and stuff. Have you actually seen any of those, Madison, since you've been here, hardship application?
So I think Robin is correct in that we've seen kind of an increase in applicants claiming hardship without like documenting exactly what that means and how it's a hardship, as opposed to just, oh, like the not historically appropriate version of the replacement is a lot cheaper than the historically appropriate version. So on staff's end, I think the next steps for me, because I think this is a very valid point, would be I'm going to try to meet with Sarah White and possibly Dan Bartman, the director, this week or next week, and see if we can come up with a way to make sure that applicants are aware that something being kind of expensive isn't necessarily a hardship.
And it's not because we're trying to
Yeah.
be difficult. Those are the
know.
guidelines that we have to follow. And so I think that's part of it that needs to be explained, is that, we're not being, trying to be difficult or insensitive to the fact that it is more expensive. Many of us here are historic homeowners and feel the pain. So it's that, you know, the guidelines that we are obligated to follow don't allow us to consider it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we
I
don't
think
make
that
the
is,
guidelines. We didn't make the guidelines.
yeah, no, I think that's a totally valid thing to bring up because I think it is something that at least on staff's end, I've been noticing it more. What we do pretty much right now is we show people, hey, these are the guidelines, but that doesn't necessarily indicate that like finances can't be taken into consideration. So I will try to meet with the appropriate people in the next couple weeks and get back to you guys.
Thank you.
It's a little, the problem is it's not a super binary. I'm just thinking back forever. Like, yes, I agree. And it's a good point that you've made, Robin, that, I mean, I bristle when someone says it's going to cost $12,000 to replace a door. But what your argument would be like, doesn't matter. I shouldn't even bother to take the time to bristle because it's their deal, especially if they own multiple, whatever. But
Yeah, I mean, in that instance, that is a circumstance of not having, you know, sought enough
yeah,
quotes for things. But you know, but realistically, why are we making accommodations for people who own, you know, 3 families valued at $2 million?
yeah,
That is not, to me, you know, like the multi-generational family that's been in the same property for 60 years and you know, meets guidelines for low income and does not have the cash, and, you know, has children in the schools and, you know, like multiple things going on where, you know, for them to sell the property and move because you know, it's historic and they can't keep up with the right things. Those are 2 really different fact patterns. And, you know, and that's why I think it would be helpful to have guidelines around it because we haven't seen it. And so we don't know, you know, what does meet the definition of hardship. All I know is it's not an investment property owner. You know, it's like first things first, you need to be an owner occupant, in my mind. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe, you know, city solicitor or something has a different opinion on it. But I would, if I were asked, I would say investment property doesn't cut it. But
yeah. I'm thinking of other cases where it's sort of like someone will come to us. We've had way back process where we sort of ease up on some of the restrictions and less prominent facades. If it's like, I mean, we've kind of, it's a little squishy, and it would be good to have something that's has sort of a codified rule set rather than just like we feel bad for this applicant this meeting, so we're going to cut a little, you know, slack on the sure put aluminum gutters in back where no one can see it and keep the it's a weird thing because I suspect that if anybody submitted true hardship forms, they would almost never qualify for it.
correct.
And it would also make our meetings a little bit easier, I suppose, because
I think it's also, you know, it's about setting expectations so that folks aren't coming here, you know, having gone through their, you know, sort of information and, you know, putting together their thoughts or their, you know, sort of argument and pieces of information as to why this makes perfect sense to them. But then it comes up against our guidelines and they're like, but this makes total sense. And it's like, yes, you know, if you're just thinking about it, you know, free of consideration of the guidelines, perhaps it does. But, you know, I think setting expectations for people so that they come in with an awareness that, you know, this is, it's not going to happen, you know, our consideration of, you know, like, oh yeah, just go with the fiberglass because it's cheaper for you and you'll, you know, your operating profit will be better. That's not a
what's
thing.
to say to every other homeowner out there that wants to replace a front door? Like, how much more expensive does this have to be before we feel bad and say, okay. So it's very non-empirical to just sort of.
I mean, very limited amount of reading that I was able to do this afternoon since our earlier meeting, where some of these topics came up. I couldn't find any specific definitions from anyone, but the basic parameters were, that it makes things not viable, that it's not, if we're saying like you need to spend $500,000 to make repairs to a property that if it were sold would only sell for 300,000, that's something where it's like, that's a hardship. But if you're asking someone to spend $10,000 on a $2 million property, is that a hardship? But yeah, it would be very helpful to have more specific parameters, but in the limited reading that I was able to do from other organizations and other types of organizations around the country, and their definitions of hardship, none of which were very specific. It didn't give us tables of, if somebody's below 80% of the median income level or anything like that to help us. But
Yeah.
But it was much more dire than certainly any of the people that we've spoken with, like developers who have their fathers crying foul on their behalf because it's just not fair. Which we've had 2 of in the last past year. So.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that up. I think it's good. It's a good point. There was something else we wanted to discuss at a meeting sometime. What was it? A couple of meetings ago. To do with demolitions, maybe, or I know at the end of the meeting we thought it'd be good to have to.
I think if I may, we had talked at one point, and this may not be what you're thinking of. Because I'm new, I don't know precedent, and does precedent matter? For example, in just using the one this evening, like if we allow them to put a double door in that's fiberglass that looks, but will that set a precedent for everybody else, or does it just not matter? Is it a case-by-case basis? And I think we had talked a little bit about that, and I'm sure I'll think of it later, what the
Yeah, it was a demo related thing
behind that. It was demo. Yeah.
Anyway, once in a while, I think it'd be good just to have just a meeting without, like, just other business where we could discuss some of those things.
Right.
And a precedent, I think it matters in a way. Just it's once in a while I get one of these applicants who digs through. They've got nothing else to do, so they'll dig through every case and find every time we've reviewed this. And it's nice just to be consistent as possible, understanding that every case is a new case. We're not obligated to abide by precedent, but it's good, especially when we have different commissioners coming and going. It evolves, but
it's rare. It's truly rare that we have identical fact patterns, there are always nuances. And so, while we may have made some accommodation on something, there were other things going on versus, whatever the matter at hand is. So, sometimes things are very similar and we decide in the same way, but there often are other aspects of things that applicants may not understand that we need to consider when making decisions, but.
yeah. Okay. How about you, Ryan? Any thoughts on all of our?
No, I think that's all perfectly valid, and yeah, I think it's an important thing to get some clarity around.
Okay. So what are we actually asking, and specifically just that staff kind of give us a more expansive view of what what's in place already from officially like a hardship perspective. Or is this something that we collectively need to just sort of come up with our own little internal guideline that we would adopt for this?
I don't think it's for us to determine. I mean, I feel like this is something that has to come from, you know, I don't know if it's, if it's staff, it's city council, if it's, if there's some existing framework that's used in Massachusetts, like something. I don't think it should be from us as commissioners. But yeah, I mean, so there's that piece, and then also understanding how do we make information more digestible for applicants to help them understand coming in that, the bar for hardship is really high. And so, if they're thinking that, like, well, this solution is, $5,000 more expensive, or like whatever it is, that's not necessarily going to be a factor that we can take into account. And so they shouldn't be thinking of it in that way either.
Eric, I do have a question for you with the community preservation funding that goes on there. Do you have knowledge, with your experience working there, what percentage of money has been allocated over the years or since the inception of this program to private homeowners, for either just private homeowners or hardship related cases? Because I remember for years there were, in the meetings that we had often attended, we had often had conversations about, wouldn't it be nice if there was some money available for people to do things? And then when this whole effort came about to come up with the CPA funding, et cetera, it seemed as though this was somewhat positioned as that's a bit of a remedy there to help out. But we rarely hear any circumstances of the money being allocated in that way, or at least I don't. So I'm just curious if you
Yeah, so
have any insight that way.
in my time there, so I guess the answer, no, that the CPC has never given, I mean, they have tried to, the Adams Magoon House was the biggie, to give money. And that one sent them, this slightly before my time, was when Dick was still doing it, through knots of how to deal with this issue, because it's a really important house. Adams Magoon House, it's the oldest, it's really in great shape. And they did it by the book. They hired a consultant to, everything's documented. And so they allocated money to them, but there are a lot of strings attached to it. And as it turns out, the applicant decided they don't want to go through with it, because it requires the preservation easement, every like a 50-year clawback. So if they sell it, they have to return the money to the city, and other stuff, that they've sort of balked at it. And there's a whole discussion there of really, how much should it matter to us that we get the money back from them? At a certain point, it's a public good that that house be maintained. And if they
Right.
sell it in 5 years and pocket the money, then, well, we helped keep the building. So there, it's sort of like the different contrasting views. The other one that came up recently was Dan Coughlin's, his condos there in 50 Bow Street, where they wanted money to do repointing of the front. It's a brick facade, and they're slowly doing that. It's expensive. And the problem we had there, I think we were leaning towards, we wanted to give them, if I remember correctly, the money to help out with the front of it where it's visible from the street, but not without conditions that the condo people found unable, they couldn't work with it, because there are a bunch of condo owners there. And to get them to go along with any of these restrictions would require each one of them to go to their mortgage, their lenders, all sorts of crazy stuff. So it became sort of a nightmare. And and then we had some other creative way that involved, I forgot, like a loan that becomes forgivable after a certain point or something. And at the end of the day, so it sort of fizzled, and they just didn't go anywhere. And
Often it's, in great part, it's that there are nonprofits that have such great needs that
Yeah.
the money kind of runs out with funding those projects before you could really even think too much about private stuff. right? I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like there's always some, you know, very worthwhile nonprofit that needs help.
Yeah, and that's the case, especially right now. We just got a first glimpse at, I guess this is part of the CPC update, of the potential applicants for money this upcoming cycle. They're not official yet, but and it's nice that we've increased the money through the CPC tax increase, but there's always like this year 2 to 3 times more applicants than we have money for, because everybody is going for it. It's why not? It's money there. So it's a lot of them's repeat people. Sometimes it's people that have come to us a lot for ongoing projects, like the Grace Baptist Church, for example, or stuff like that. And the other thing that you asked, Ryan, was there was a fund that had been established before I was on that commission that did that. It was sort of like maximum $10,000 to homeowners to help them do anything. And I thought that was a cool idea. And apparently, for some reason, it fizzled internally. The city couldn't ever figure out something about it, and they ended up returning that money to the general use. But it's on my list to kind of get that going again. I'm hoping that's something we can revisit when we have this new consultant. It's a big issue, and it's frustrating for me because we go through affordable housing, open space, and historic preservation. We consistently get dinged, put like to the bottom of the barrel as far as what they think we should get, which is, I find a little bit of, I shouldn't say offensive, but it bothers me a little bit.
Yeah.
So right now, the affordable housing gets 55%, open space 16, and we're at 12 or something. And then there's an uncommitted 10% that we can move from category to category. And the rest is administration and whatever. But historic preservation cases take up almost all of our time. And we have like this huge list of people that want it. So it just, everybody wants a piece of it. And affordable housing is important too. And we just give that money to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We don't have to think about it. So they have infinite need also. So I'm not denigrating them. It's just, I take a little bit of offense once in a while when you get these surveys back that like your category doesn't matter to us. And then, well, that's all we do here is decide who should get this little resources.
Right. All right. Thank you. It's helpful.
So that's the thing. And that was a long-winded answer to some other question, wasn't it? I don't know.
No, that was a thorough meander.
Good.
Thorough and helpful.
We try. Cool. Well, if that's it, I guess we could adjourn.
I move that we vote to adjourn.
Second that.
Okay, Robin has voted motion to adjourn, seconded by Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll do our roll call. Ryan,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. And thank you. Thanks, Madison.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone. Thank you,
Madison.
Madison.
See you in a few
Thank
weeks.
you, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.